tonight's going to be password management. And, you know, Scott and I both do a lot of work with passwords. He's a big fan of the built-in keychain on the Mac, and I'm kind of sort of a big fan of 1Password. So we're going to talk about both of those and, you know, where they fit into like different needs for different people. We're each going to do like 20 minutes, at least that's what we have planned, or at least how it works out, 20 minutes on each topic. Scott will go first, and then we'll do Q&A. So you can stick around for that part of it. Scott, if you want to go ahead and get started, I guess you can go ahead and do that.
So I'm going to be talking about the component of Mac OS X's. I believe in the newest version of OS X. I don't know how far back this goes, but it's definitely in Monterey. They have a password management system that they built into the computer, okay? Basically, the interface is mostly in Safari is when you kind of use it. I'm going to take you through the process to how you can see how it works, what you see, what you don't see, okay? I'm a big fan of the OS X built-in software for password management. I'm not that much of a fan of third-party stuff because I think there's a bunch of things that I think it causes problems. It makes it harder to manage third-party software. Although 1Password might have tons more features, and LastPass you can share stuff. I want you to learn the basics so that you know that you need the more advanced stuff. For example, Apple's built-in preview is a phenomenal PDF reader. Lets you edit, change pages, mark stuff up. A lot of it even lets you edit images, resize. It's not Photoshop, but at the same time, it's a great product that if people knew, it would do about 85% of what people need it to do, but they don't even know it's there. Does that kind of make sense? Same thing with the password reader. Everyone talks about LastPass or these apps on the phone. They don't even know what's built into their system. And if you start there, at least you can learn how it works and then know what you might want to add down the road. Is that a good start? Boy, you can't get feedback on this like you do in a room, you know?
No, I was muted. I was saying,
So to start with, I created a fake little box account. I'm going to start with just beginning to how it works in Safari. So you come here, the important thing to see is this little lock. Now, a lot of you may see that lock a lot and don't know what it does. This one right here. You may know what it is, you may not use it appropriately, but when you see that lock, it's basically that the Safari browser has said to itself, hey, this person's at box.com. I know that URL because it's in my database and they already have an account set up. So how can I show them that they have one? And that's where this lock comes from. It automatically pops up my username. It shows the account that I used it on, and it's that simple, okay? So I'm going to log in and basically it enters my username and password for me. I guess, okay. And I hit next. And then this is the good part. It enters my password for me. So just a concept to keep in mind is that I did not even have to know my password. It just automatically knew that I was at that website and it's entering it for me. That'll come up later because what we can do is if we have something tracking our passwords, we can have much more complex passwords and we don't necessarily have to remember them ourselves. So I'm going to say log in and you can clearly see that I got into that account. I am now logged into my box. Box is a lot like a Dropbox competitor and I can use that website and I literally had 2 clicks and I was in. So what does this look like? You can access the database of information in 2 different places on the Mac. One is in Safari Preferences by going to Passwords. You have to log in with your local login password for your account. And this is to protect somebody else sitting down at your machine. Theoretically, they would not know this. If you have a watch connected to your computer, you'll get a little, it'll ping, you know, it'll do a little motion on your watch and you can double click the button and it'll automatically log you in here. So it makes it even easier. That's even one less password to remember. But just so you know, this is a special account that I created that I'm not using my own personal account. I'm using a fake account that I kind of just set up for you guys. So it'd be a little simpler to understand and a little cleaner. So I log in with and that's why my watch didn't work, because this isn't my normal account. I don't even have iCloud logged in here. It's just a fake account. So I put in the password and I can see all the passwords that I've stored, right? How many of you guys use this kind of like right now? How many use a password manager? Wave. How many use Apple's password managers? Literally 4 of us. So, you know, we're using other stuff. So this is obviously the one built into Safari, and I love it. So a couple things going on here. Here's the list of all the passwords I've saved. They're all right here. I can read easily enough what the username is, what the password is, what the website is. That's kind of important too, so you know which one it is. You can also see that, you know, here's my box information. If I roll over this, I can see the password. If I right click on one of these accounts, I can automatically copy the username or copy the password or copy the website. So it's a great way that you can get that information copied to your clipboard quickly and easily. What else? So down here, can you see that all right? I can zoom in. Detect compromised passwords. That's on by default. What that does is there's 2 things going on there. Apple does a couple things. It looks at your password and it kind of lets you know if it's too simple of a password, meaning it doesn't have like uppercase and lowercase and lots of different characters. It also lets you know if your password might have been used in a past security breach. So on the dark web, whatever that means, there are a bunch of databases out there that have been stolen from various credit card companies, large businesses, all kinds of different places. Those become available for people to buy or available for free on the web. Some people have taken those and made them available to be looked up. If like a third party can go into that database, look up and see if your username and password is in there, and it will let you know if your password's been compromised. And that's kind of what I'm getting here. Okay. Now, in this particular case, it's just an easily guessed password. So let's look at what it is. Just some numbers and a letter. Super, super easy. So as I'm looking at this, I might say to myself, okay, I want to fix that. So all I have to do is change password on website. All it does is take me to that website, theoretically. And it's not. So what I'll do is I'll just copy the website. Oh, there it goes. I wonder if I'm slow because of Zoom. Interesting. Sorry, guys. So basically, what I would do is I'd click on this change password and I would go to the website. I'd probably just log in with my current username and password. And then I usually just go to accounts and say, change my password. Okay. Let's create a new account to see how that process goes. Is that cool? We'll do that box. So you know what? I'll do it this way. I'm going to make it a private window. I'm going to go to box.com. And I'm going to create a new account using a different email. Sign up, get started. So just bear with me for a second. Sorry, I did this yesterday and now it looks completely different. Okay. So I'm going to delete this. You see how the key popped up there? If I click on that, Safari will suggest a new password for me. And that password, I'm not even going to learn. I don't care. It's a strong password. It's there. They like it. They give it 3 bars. I can't imagine what they want to get 4 bars. Okay. And I say, by checking the boxes, I'm not a robot, do their stuff, whatever. Verify. Get started. Already taken. Okay, so I just created an account. Now, Safari should have automatically saved that for me. There it is, with that big long password that I had. Okay, so I'm all set. I've got it saved. I know that. I can use this account. And if I ever decide to go back, I can log in. The cool part is I can even go use other usernames. So I can see any accounts that I've set up for this account as different people and pick that one to log in with. Simple enough, right? So that was a pretty good example. There is one huge caveat on this. Some websites Safari doesn't understand how they are using the username and password. So sometimes it will not populate a password for me. That's correct. Or sometimes when signing up for a website, you may not actually save the new password. Okay, so if I automatically generate a password using Safari and I hit OK, and Safari doesn't save it in its database, I'm kind of messed up because I don't have that password saved, okay? Because Safari didn't quite understand the steps that the website wanted me to enter that information. I'm gonna teach you something really quick. A great way to generate passwords for yourself is just to do a Google search. You know, don't even, just do J-E-N-E-R, generate passwords. There are hundreds of password generators out there. So sometimes if I don't want to autofill that with the Apple one, or it doesn't seem to work, I have to go back to the website. I will go to an auto generator. This one's from LastPass. I'll say generate a password. And I'll copy that with copy and paste. And then I will enter the password in the login. And then usually Safari pops up and says, I'll save that for you. And it will update my record. I could also come over here. And if I wanted, well, we'll get to the edit thing in a minute. But sometimes using the Safari to auto-generate a password may not work depending on how the website was written. I want to make that clear. And in those cases, what I do is I just go make a good one and I'll drop it in there. And then usually Safari says, okay, I'll save that password and I'll move on from there. Does that kind of make sense? That's the one problem. You can't count on how every website does it. All right. So, you know, Google can't, Yahoo does it. I also wanted to mention there are password systems built in that are free with Google, Firefox, Safari, and Edge. The question becomes, where does it save that data? For example, the Google Chrome browser saves it in your Google account. So you would have to be logged into that to see those passwords. For Safari, for OS X or Safari, it's saved in iCloud. So you have to have an iCloud account. You have to have that saved, you know, setting on to sync passwords. What I like about the Mac OS one or Safari's is that because it uses iCloud, it will sync all of those passwords to your phone. Can you guys see my phone right here? I can go to settings and I can go to passwords. I log in with my face, and if I do a search, those accounts will be here as well. So now if I'm at another computer, I can open up my phone and look up. Oh, look, it won't. Oh, this is really cool. So I'm sharing my phone with you guys, but it won't show the password here as a security concern. Okay. So you can't technically see that password, but if I look at the phone, I got the password. Okay. So Apple encrypts this data. They share it securely. They share it securely between your devices. You've got a password everywhere. What's the number one thing it's missing? You technically can't share these passwords with another family member or another iCloud user. It's kind of an island for yourself. All right. It's pretty much the same way in Firefox and Google Chrome because they need to have their own user account. Okay. Now, a lot of the third-party softwares that Spike will talk about, they offer sharing. So you can share with a group of people, you could share with a family member, you could share with one person, but it's more of a cloud-based thing rather than on your machine. Okay? Does that make sense? Now, what else did I want to discuss?
Well, that's kind of a cloud-based thing too, though, isn't it, Scott?
I'm sorry?
That's kind of a cloud-based thing too, when you're talking about the Mac. So it's all cloud.
Well, I mean, it's cloud-based in the sense that it's synced between devices and it goes to iCloud and then it gets synced up to the other one. Okay. The saving, most of the processing is done on your machine by itself. Okay. It's stored on your machine through iCloud. Okay. You're not going to the cloud every time to get that stuff. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's a little different than that, but I think it's a small difference. For instance, sometimes I question the security of all my passwords being just in the cloud, like at LastPass or OneDrive or that kind of stuff. Okay. Hopefully they're all secure. I like that Apple's put their whole iCloud security thing and it's just part of it. And that's a big focus for them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to get into is taking a look at Safari right now. There's two places that you can see your password, just so you know. This is preferences, Safari preferences, and then you go to passwords here, okay? You can also now access all of this from system preferences with this icon for passwords. They're virtually identical. I do not think it was not in system preferences up until the last version of Mac OS. It was always built into just Safari, okay? But this is a nice way to by adding it to system preferences, it's a nice way to put passwords up front and easy to get to no matter where you're at, all right? Not necessarily tying the concept to Safari, okay? Now, on your iPhone, when you have the database, it's not just for websites, but also apps can access this database of passwords and pull that username and information as well. Now, it depends on if the app is configured and set up to do that. Some apps do it, some apps don't. Okay, so what they're trying to build is a repository for all your usernames and passwords. Okay, so let's go look and see some of the features of this repository. Really simple to read and see. If I hit edit, I can easily see what my username is. I can see what my password is. I can click on the change password on website button. Let's see if that works with this one. What is that? That's a Cronus. So now it clicks me out. I automatically open the page and I logged in. Some websites, you go directly to the change password location. I think that's kind of like if Apple knows about it. If they don't, you go to profile. And I'm going to go in and find this change password button. They're very common. Most of the time it's under something called accounts or a profile. I have to put in the current password to change it. So it's going to drop it right in there for me. And now I'm going to go to the new password. Now this one is one of those websites that doesn't really work well with Safari. Like Apple doesn't know that this field could take a new password. So what I usually do is I hop out, generate password, pick one at random. Is that a good one? I like Oh, wait, that's a good one. I'm going to copy that one. And I'm just going to simply paste it in here. Okay. I'm going to hit save changes. Now, the question is, this website might be coded in a way that Safari could not update that password. So we're going to see what happens. So I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to go log out. Oh, look at that. Do you see that window? Because I navigated away from that page, Safari said, oh, do you want to save this new password we just put on this site? Not now. I'm going to say update password. And if I go back to here and I go here, what was that? Acronis. I've got this new big password that I don't necessarily need to remember. One of the things that's my favorite about using huge passwords that you don't even know is that for your financial institutions, where are you going to access your financial institution data? Hopefully, probably only from your phone or from one specific computer at home. So suddenly you can have a 24-character password that you don't need to know because it's saved and you can change it or update it or copy it or do whatever you need to later. Make sense? Okay. So that's basically one other quick feature that I have not gotten to work yet, but they're working on it. You guys know that there's a lot of authenticators out there, Microsoft, Google Authenticator, basically software you put on your phone that they send a code to or somehow generates a code that you type into a website, right? So you have to kind of download it to your iPhone and then go to like your Microsoft 365 account, say, I want to use Authenticator, and then you look up a code on that and you enter the code and you get into the website. Apple has made their own Authenticator built into both the phone. And that's what this verification code is. And the way that Apple's doing it is if the website chooses to give you to do this system, they'll give you a code that you enter called the setup key. You copy this from the website or a QR code or a bunch of ways. You hit OK. And then when you'll be authenticated through this, and those super secret passwords will get passed to your phone, will show up as a text message or whatever the website wants to let you in to increase security. It's a more one-to-one relationship. It's a little confusing and I have not gotten it to work yet, but that is the ultimate goal. So Apple's saying, we're not going to make you download the Microsoft Authenticator app because that'll only work with some apps, websites. We're going to make every website use this standard. So maybe you could possibly set it up and it would just work. I've tried to do it 2 times and I have not gotten it to work. Okay. And just so you know, the place that I think it makes more sense. One second, where's my... Sorry, I want to show you the same thing on the phone, but it doesn't seem to be there now. If we go into one of these accounts, set up verification code, you see right here? If you click on that, it says, if Box supports using a verification code, visit the website to obtain the setup key. I think that's going to be very common shortly in the future, that a website will offer you some kind of verification key, walk you through the steps to do it on your phone, and then it'll increase the security between you and that given website. Okay? Let's go scan QR code. Oh, let's see what happens if I do that. Oh, I get my camera, and then the theory would be that I'd scan the code and it would do all the back-end stuff that needed to happen. Does that make a little bit of sense? That's an increased security step that I'm hoping we will see in the future. There's also a really good chance that if this verification code stuff gets working, you won't need passwords. You just get the code from the website, put it in here. Apple will talk to you in that computer and it'll be secure and you may not even need to enter a username and password. Okay? One day, maybe down the future. Let's hope. Are there any questions? I'm sorry, I can't see questions. I'm not sure where they are in the Zoom. Just chime in.
There's a bunch of them here in the chat. That's
How do I get to the chat now that I'm in screen sharing?
If you go to your bar, Scott, you should be able to bring it up, I think, even
Oh,
if
I
you're
see.
sharing.
Chat.
Yeah, one of the things that just got asked is like apps on your iPhone will, if the app supports it, which most of the major ones do, they will take the passwords from Keychain on the Mac and put them into the application. Things like apps like Netflix or Amazon and things like that will remember your key.
Somebody, wait, I'm not sure where the questions start.
Let's see.
Chain
Oh, you
passwords.
can
Other
import and
ones, like
export.
maybe
Let me show
games
you
or other,
something.
like programs.
Let me show you where you can import and export. Just one second. Let me minimize that. Let me go here. I'll go to Safari preferences. Down here, you can import or export these passwords. So I'm going to say export passwords. I'll just save it to the desktop here and I'll show you what it looks like. It's actually kind of cool. Let me in. It is a comma delimited CSV file. Okay. So it could be a backup. It allows you to import it. You might be able to import it into Google if they support that. I don't know, but your passwords are going to be there. Okay. I would not do this unless you know you're going to delete that file that you just created at some point, because you're basically putting all your passwords and usernames into an unencrypted file. Okay. So if you took that and backed it up to your server and somebody got access to your server, they'd know your passwords from at least when you did that. So it's cool that you can do it. I would not recommend doing that though very much.
Yeah. I've had people export stuff and then I suggest that they print it and then they can hide it someplace in their house, like, which is more for like your computer's dead and you can't get to stuff, or you get hit by a bus and you want like a loved one to know where your passwords are. That's one way, to do that. Now, just the main thing is not to leave that list like right there on your desk where someone breaks into your house to steals things to get all your passwords. So like, keep it inside the Lord of the Rings or some like, really good novel and people know where to look.
So I think we just saw that you could migrate. So if you did use the built-in password management in Mac OS and then wanted to move to 1Password, I bet you can export that file and then import it into 1Password. If you don't have a Mac, I would download one of the browsers, Firefox, Safari, Firefox, Chrome, or Edge, and they do have password management built into that, but it's not system-wide.
You can export from, I've exported from Chrome and imported into Mac OS. I've done that. It works fine.
What do you mean it's not system-wide, Scott? Did it mean it doesn't go into the other devices, or?
It'll go on to, your passwords will be stored on every device, okay? But basically right now in Mac OS, just kind of the browser takes advantage of it.
I mean like a PC. Like if you use Edge or Chrome or Firefox, will they transfer to the other devices that you happen to have?
Yeah, as long as you're signed in on that account. So if you have Chrome on your Mac and Chrome on your PC and you're using that storage space from Chrome, it'll be on both as long as you're signed into the same Google account.
Okay.
Does that make sense? That's
it
how
does. I wonder if it works the same way. It'd be nice if it did.
It pretty much does. Now, you might have to have, okay, those are the built-in ones. They're all built into the browsers. So they kind of do the, hey, you're entering a password. Do you want me to save it? All the time, right? Because they kind of know that you're doing that. Now, the third-party software uses generally extensions. I'm sure Spike will talk about that. But the extensions are plugins for your browsers, so you can use LastPass or 1Password. I think it adds a too much layer of complexity. That's why I like the built-in stuff, okay? And I do think the Apple one is more robust than the password managers in Firefox and Chrome, okay? And it's great that it works on my phone too. Now, apps on your phone can access the database of passwords, but it's a little bit hit or miss, okay? Somebody else said something about need to comment. I mean, I don't know, okay, Safari is the password keeper. Wouldn't it be easier for hackers to get your passwords? No. I mean, I don't understand why you would think it would be easier if it was in Safari. It's still encrypted on your computer. It's still in iCloud. It's the same as OnePass. It's just where are you storing that data? OnePass puts it in the cloud, which my personal opinion is that might be a little less secure. LastPass had a security breach. Also, you kind of need to accept the fact that nothing's secure. Give it enough time, enough interest, and enough focus, somebody's going to probably be able to break it, okay, or get in. Or if I can just follow you around enough, I might be able to figure out your iCloud password, and then it doesn't matter. But we're making it as difficult as possible, but at the same time, it's simple for you, okay? Logging
It's a continual quest, I think.
It is, and you're sending a password over, and hopefully your financial institution encrypts that connection, because at some point you have to send that password, not really in the clear, but you're sending somebody else a password, right? It's out of your hands, it's somewhere else. Somebody could be seeing that while it's going between you and your bank. Hopefully your bank's handling that, it's encrypted. Hopefully Apple's doing a better job on both sides to get that done. It's just about the best it can be. To think that you're 100% safe, I mean, unless you have maybe anyone have a panic room in their house? That might be the only way. So.
It's a good practice to keep changing them too, because it's
and use bigger ones. Use ones that you don't even know, okay? Because it makes it harder to write it down or do anything else. Make them complex. Hell, one of the most obvious errors here in the password database is it's just too simple. You know, it's 5 numbers and a letter. You know, somebody could literally brute force attack that. Henry,
is a good
did
idea.
you get that about create random passwords? Henry asked about creating random passwords. I use those websites all the time, and the only way I do it is I say, generate password, and then I pick a site randomly. I try and not even to pick the same site all the time. Yeah, so Spike commented on that. Do you know when you export your passwords to passwords control panel? We did that. Okay, in the web browser, one of the things is, and I'm not sure where the setting is, so we're just going to go find it right now. You can tell it, I'm not sure where it is.
It's under autofill. I think that's what
it's under autofill.
So you can uncheck that part.
Yeah, so it's off now. So mine won't get in the way. A lot of people use like 1Password or LastPass and don't turn that off. So they see 2 keychains there and it gets really awkward. But yes, you can turn off. You're just turning off Safari's interaction with that. You are not turning off Keychain in iCloud. Okay, you're just not putting anything into it from Safari, and Safari won't ask you to save passwords anymore.
Scott, why don't you show where the keychain setting is in the system preferences for that in Apple ID? That would be useful.
I really can't. I've been avoiding that because I haven't signed into my iCloud.
Oh, I see. All right, I'll show it on mine.
It's just one of the options. And by the way, if you're using iCloud at all, unless you know why you have something off, I would turn everything on in iCloud. I can't tell you how many people I see, like, for some reason, the keychain's off, a couple other things, and then they're wondering why their information isn't syncing, okay? I don't know if that happens after updates or something like that, but by far, even if you just think of iCloud as a backup of some of your data, that's a good reason to have everything checked in iCloud, okay? Unless you have some real personal reason you don't want to do it, you should always have the keychain on, and it's kind of like on your phone, you should always have iCloud backups on. Yes. Keep the keychain on too. It'll make your life a lot easier. Let me see. So I showed you random passwords. I showed you how to save them. I showed you what you can do in the system preferences to manage them. Oh, I just wanted to show you one thing. One thing I see a lot is multiple accounts. There was a thing on the phone that would let you save a username. It would save a password, but it wouldn't save a username. That's getting fixed in the next update to iOS. And sometimes you log into a website with a new username and password, right? You put in the wrong password, but the box pops up that says, do you want to save this password? And you hit yes automatically. But you entered manually, for whatever reason, the wrong password. You will have multiple accounts appear. Okay? This can happen in really any of the apps. It's just that it doesn't know, you put in the wrong password, it assumes you're using a new password and lets you save it. So you hit save, and then suddenly, and you can come in here and you can delete those. Delete it, have multiple accounts. I love to go into people's and look at multiple accounts and try and figure out which one's the good one, which one's the bad one. Okay. Also, there's an option when you're saving a password when you log in to never save a password from that website. I've only done that on 2 websites, and I only mostly do it when I'm doing admin accounts for Office 365 or something I don't want. At another person's computer, I'll log into their 365 admin site, but I'll say never save that password. So they don't even have to worry about accidentally entering that or me leaving it behind on somebody else's computer. That could happen as well. So that's why it asks you if you want to save it. And then the other option is never for this website. Always a good idea. We can edit them. We can make notes. And we got password checking. I guess that's pretty much everything, Spike. Is there anything else I should talk about this?
No, I think you covered all the things that I noticed that sort of little things that were missed during the talk that I put into the chat, like kind of nuanced questions. So I think you're good.
Can I give them one bonus?
Yeah, and you can maybe look through the chat to see if you missed something while I'm presenting, and you can add it to there.
Okay. Can I add one bonus trick?
Yeah, sure.
This is my favorite thing that I just discovered myself. Select some text. I'm going to see if it works because you might have to turn it on. Command Escape. Didn't work. You got to go into, okay, let's see if we can find it real quick. I'm sorry, using Command Escape, there is this great feature for reading text, any text on the computer. For instance, if I normally go like this and I go to speech and I say start speaking.
Need a password?
Can you hear that?
Try the 1Password strong password generator.
That's the old bad voices, not the good, new, cool Siri one. And that's a limit in Mac OS X, that it can't use Siri voices to read text. But under this, I have learned speak selection. Now, if I do Command Escape, or is it Option Escape?
Need a password? Try the 1Password strong password generator.
That is cool.
Option Escape.
Need a password? Try the 1Password strong password generator.
It's awesome. It works everywhere. It's just great. It's my new biggest thing. I use it for emails to check that my freaking horrible writing even makes sense. And I use it all the time now. So keep that in mind. Option Escape.
Need a password? Try the 1Password strong password generator.
And if you want to enable it and want to change the voice
to stay safe online,
it's just under accessibility, spoken content, speak selection.
Yeah, that'd be great for proofreading.
It's great I do it all the time now. All right. So
That'd be
one
good.
little bonus
That'd
thing.
be good for voicemails too. You can just
that's how I generate my voicemails. I write it up, record it, and then that's it. So thanks, guys. That's it from me. I'm done.
Thanks, Scott.
Any questions? Any questions for me specifically? Was there anything in the chat?
Why don't you just answer questions in the chat that you might get, and then you can add stuff like for anything I overlook, you can put that in the chat for me.
Okay.
That's what I was doing.
All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. That was great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to share my screen now. I hope I can like, rise to the occasion for up to compare to what Scott was able to do. So
You have
Sure you will.
let's see. I'm trying to think let me see if I make sure I check. There's a checkbox for sharing your audio. I want to make sure I got that. Yeah, share sound. I did not do that. And I don't want to start that video yet. But I'm going to talk about 1Password because that's what I like and use. And I'm going to compare it to what you can get with the password management keychain part of Mac OS. And I want to, well, I guess I want to show you this YouTube video because I like it a lot. And I can tell you from personal experience, like when I go to troubleshoot people's Macs that are having trouble, usually I feel like I'm doing password forensics before I even get to like fixing the problem because people can't get into their email, they can't get to their iCloud. Like we're just sort of figuring out all that stuff to begin with. So having good passwords to start will help you out. So having that kind of organized. So I'm going to talk about 1Password. I know that, I guess if I look here of who's, I guess maybe put in the chat or raise your hand if you are already using 1Password. I know Mary is, I know Ron does. I know that Gary does. I don't know, does anyone else using 1Password?
Peggy's waving her hand.
Oh, Peggy does. Okay, so yeah, so Ron does too. So anyway, feel free to add stuff into the chat. I won't be offended if I miss something or if you tell me I said something wrong. That's okay. I think of 1Password, and I can see where Scott likes the keychain because I think of 1Password as almost like Photoshop for passwords. Like I use it really well. I think I'm pretty good at using it, but they keep adding new features all the time and I don't even know what they all are. Like I use the ones that I need, but there's a bunch of other stuff that other people may need that I don't know how to use. I wouldn't say it's quite as many dials and buttons and settings as Photoshop, but there is quite a few. So I want to show you this little video here, full screen, before I start going into the rest of 1Password.
Hundreds of accounts for websites, apps, and services, and each one gets a password. Most of us take something easy to remember, our dog's name backwards plus the year of our first kiss, and use that for everything. Easy? Sure. Secure? No, not at all. If one account were to get compromised, your whole life could be turned upside down. The smart thing to do would be create a unique password for every account, right? Secure? Sure. Easy? No, not at all. So what do? Write them in a notebook? Sticky notes? Make up a song? No, what you do is use a super smart, super simple app called 1Password. With 1Password, all you need is one password. What the app does is collect all your unique passwords into one super safe place and locks them up behind something only you know, your 1Password. And it's integrated right there in your browser. So when it's time to log in, just click the button, enter your 1Password, and you're in. Here's another cool thing. You come to a new site that asks you to make a new account. 1Password will generate a new secure password for you and save it where it needs to go. Next time you want to go to that site, just hit the button. 1Password will do its thing, and you're in. And it's not just for passwords, it's for all sorts of information you need to keep safe. Bank numbers, credit cards, top secret ideas, files, anything. All locked up where no one can get to them but you, with your 1Password. And your passwords are with you wherever you are because your 1Password syncs automatically between every computer and device you own. So it's always up to date. No more sticky notes, no more dog names, just you and your 1Password.
So I usually show this video when I'm trying to explain like why people should not have little sticky notes or things that they crossed out that they can't even read for their own handwriting or have like a systematic record for. So I usually show this to kind of help persuade people to try to get their passwords organized. And I think it's short and sweet and kind of gets the point across. So I wanted to at least tell you a little bit about like this is the 1Password website. And the thing that's different about 1Password is it's actually, you can use it for families. So I actually had passwords that I would share with my with my ex-wife. So we would share passwords together for like bank accounts or things that we had in common. And sometimes the passwords I would keep for her because she wasn't very organized with keeping them. But there's also then 1Password for business. And I actually use the business version. There's all sorts of different levels of packages for business. The place where it's not really clear here when you look at the pricing, it does show you the different business accounts. I have a Teams account, but there's a business account. These are all monthly subscriptions, and then there's actually enterprise. So they can do not only business, but you can do, this is the personal and family. There's a 14-day trial. It's $3 a month per person. This is actually the individual account. And then if you want to have family, so this is great if you want to keep passwords for your kids. Or if you have a parent that needs a little help that's still able to do those kinds of things, you get basically the 1Password features can scale differently than, it's not just for individuals because you're not locked into just your user profile for that. You can actually share them. It originally started sharing with Dropbox, but now they have their own secure vaults and stuff online where those get shared. So there's personal and family, team and business. And I do have some corporate clients that use this to manage their businesses. There's an admin account. You can invite users. You can have different groups for marketing, for manufacturing, for the executive owners of the company, those kinds of things. The difference for these is there is a subscription. So you do have to pay monthly for it. But I have found that it's really quite worthwhile. So let me show you what 1Password looks like. Let's see if I launch it. Let me launch it here. Let's just go to my desktop. So this is what the password program is. I have to type in my 1Password. And you can see I have quite a few things in here. These are all vault. You can have different vaults where you can organize things. So there's my vault. I have some passwords I keep for clients. This vault is for CVPUG. This is for the Jewish secular community where I manage their MailChimp and website. This is for me and my ex. I do have a few Blue Star passwords that I've organized. I don't know how current it is because I haven't really used them for a while with Blue Star. My dad has his own category, some fans and family and friends, and I have some other clients. And then I do have access to some clients who have their vaults shared with me as a business team. So I can see all these different kinds of vaults here. And then you can see there's all the listing of the different logins that I have. What's different about these is you can move things between vaults. Let's see if I go back up to here, fake. Made a fake note. If you go to add, these are all the different kinds of categories that you can keep in 1Password. So there's logins, secure notes, which I do a lot of. You can keep credit cards. You can do identities. So I think of that's like if you have a winter palace and a summer palace. Sometimes I'll fill in fake information. I can do stuff for Elvis to fill in things for Elvis. Passwords, you can keep track of documents, bank accounts, driver's license, email account, membership, passport, software, and even like router information. So I have my Costco cards in there, my social security card, my medical records, all that kind of information can be securely stored in 1Password. So that's handy. The other part of 1Password is that it has plugins. So if you look here, this is my plugin for 1Password. That automatically fills in here. But if I open that same page with, let's say if I go to Microsoft Edge, which let's see if that opens up for me. There's actually a plugin for Microsoft Edge for Firefox, Chrome, and I think there's one that has, I forget what that one's called. It has like a lion icon
Brave.
for it. What's that one called?
Brave.
Oh, yeah. So it's got it for that. So you can, so this is one of the things that you can do differently that with 1Password is you can actually have your password sync across browsers. So you can use it in different browsers in case Safari. I usually turn on this develop menu in Safari, and then I can choose to open a page with a different browser if that page doesn't work in Safari. So I try to live in Safari because I like the features where it's on, you can use Safari on your phone, the reading list and the bookmarks all synced to all your devices. And then Apple's trying to do things with to block websites from knowing your IP address. So they're trying to add up some privacy features into Safari. And it's still in the beta for that, but it's in their strategy for improving Safari.
One thing with extensions, though, that is one of my big complaints about it, that can be a real sticking point for people, because if you don't have the extension, it doesn't matter. You can't see your passwords. So if it's not in every browser, people get confused if they don't know how to do it. If you're not sure if it's on, that's the only thing you got to keep in mind.
Yes, and Apple's or 1Password's done a nice job of making that easy. It was kind of a hassle in the beginning during the early days of it. But if I open up 1Password, there's a link right here that says install browser extensions. So you can actually, it takes you right to the place to do that. And then there's actually, I don't know if you can see it, in my menu bar, 1Password is, I got too many things up here. There it is. You can actually choose to install the plugins right from up here. So there's like a mini browser in here for 1Password. So like you do have to keep your extensions up to date. So one thing that I do not always upgrade my browser, at least though they seem to fix this. Usually when I'd upgrade Safari, 1Password necessarily wouldn't have an upgraded extension for a few days. So I wouldn't upgrade Safari right away when there was an update for it. But it seems like 1Password's gotten big enough that they're early enough in the development cycle for these products and have good relationships with the browser developers that usually the plugins are available day zero when they come out. So that's what I've noticed. But the other benefit of 1Password that's similar to this is that it works on Windows and Mac, and you can use it on Android and iOS and Linux as well. So your passwords can work across devices, which is, if you're a business, you might have Macs and PCs in your business. So I guess that could be for personal use too, but that's more likely to be the case with the business, where you can have it be cross-platform.
Can I just say one thing, though, that's always hard with Teams? We can all think of so many different things, but you've got to manage it. You've got to keep it clean. You got to update. You got to delete the bad stuff. And, think about your inbox. Are you doing that? Do you know what I mean? So it's a great solution, but it almost starts to generate some of its own problems. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah. So that's one thing that, I had to kind of eat my own dog food for this presentation, because usually when I'm trying to persuade people to say yes to present for CD Pug, I go, well, one thing good about presenting is you get to learn about your whatever you're talking about a lot better, because you have to talk about it differently than you would in other situations. So I spent a lot of time when I prepared for this presentation, like cleaning out my passwords. to, kind of get rid of the clutter or things that had accumulated over time. So I did like a early spring cleaning for my passwords. So you can see that there's lots of different categories. I did misplace my wallet. I did find it, but I was concerned that I had actually lost it. And all my information that was in my wallet, whether it was for the credit card, had the 800 number to call, the account number, the security code. I even put in, like, if you ask security questions, like where do you like to go on vacation, or your first grade teacher, I have all that stuff in that note. So it makes it easy to find it.
Can you export the data from 1Password?
You can.
Yes, you can.
I have not tried exporting it. I believe you can. I know, like, there's stuff on their website for how to get stuff in and out. Yeah, there's your export there. So you can choose, you have to put your password in to do it. And you can also import your passwords too. And these are so I guess, LastPass, older versions of 1Password. I'm not sure what the other is, but there are some other password programs that you can import to. I actually like to print it and put it into a hidden place so that, if I do get hit by a bus, the information's available without having to deal with any kind of digital getting into my devices.
Do they still let you save it to a USB stick as like a little mini website?
No, you can't do that. Not that I'm aware of. If that's available, I'm not aware of it. You can
used to
export
let
it
you
as a
do that.
PDF. Yeah, I don't think that you can. Well, I remember when they did that. If it's still a feature, it's not anything that I've needed.
It was just a cool way to back it up.
Yeah, so you can export it from here. They have some nice features, like if you look at the password copy, you can choose to reveal. And then also I like this feature where you can show in large type. So it actually shows it, and it has kind of like, nice, it numbers them and reverses the gradation. So it's like easier to type in a phone or read off, to type in or read off to someone if you have to. So that part's handy. There is a feature, I do a right click, you can copy to vault, move to vault, so you can move passwords between different vaults. And then you can also share passwords. So this is something that a lot of people text or email passwords back and forth, which is not really secure because that's not necessarily private or encrypted. So this is a feature that they just added, which I really like a lot. So I can send a link just like you can for like a file that you want someone to be able to download. I can send a link. I can choose whether it's good for 1 hour, 1 day, anyone with the link, or I can do only some people and how many times they can see it. So if I want to type, something to Mary, I can just do president@cdpug.org. And then I can either get the link, I copy and paste the link.
Get the
Actually,
link and paste it into a browser.
If I do this,
Interesting way.
actually, I can actually choose copy, or I can do this. I can actually send it right in an email or text it to someone. So if I choose mail, it will open up an email with that attached file to it. And I've sent this for sending passwords to clients.
Can you copy it and open it in a web browser? I'm just wondering what it looks like.
Let's look and see. Copy. Let's just open up another tab here. Yeah, so they have, it says I require an email address. Mary would have to put in president@cdpug.org in order to be able to open that.
You just did this with me recently.
Yes. How did it work, Mary? Was it easy for you to do?
No brainer.
Yeah, imagine if you have 1Password, then you probably can just import it into your database already instead of just having it available to use.
Which
Why don't you just
incidentally,
put in the
So I guess
email?
you could add it to the Keychain app too, I suppose, once you log into it.
I put it in my 1Password because you sent me a login for something that I needed. So
I mean, in
I
the
did,
past,
added
I would have people give me emails like over voicemail or write them down, or I feel like texting is probably safer than email if you were sending a message, but this is better than all those. Now, there is another way of doing this, which actually I wanted to show you. There's There's a program, this is a website which I gave to Henry, it's in the chat. It is called Password Pusher. So this is like, if you don't have one password, but you do want to share passwords, you can put the password here and then you can push it. You can, or you can even, I guess you can generate a password from here too, which I don't use this that often
Do
now,
it.
that I'm using one password. Yeah, generate, and then you can say push it. And you don't have quite as many controls, but your newly password will expire after 7 days or 5 views. So then I could copy this link and text it or email it to someone.
Paste it into a
I think
URL so you can see what it looks
Yeah,
like.
so let's see, I think it takes you to the website. Yeah, so let's see, maybe I don't know if I need to do a private window, let's see. Yeah, so it doesn't even show it there, but you can copy it or delete it after you've seen it.
Here, click copy to clipboard. Click below to reveal it.
Oh. Uh,
There you go.
So that will do the same thing as one password if you don't have it. So I think that's kind of a handy way if you have to share passwords with clients or family members and you don't have one password. So that's one of the things that I kind of like about one password that I've used. Oh yeah, the email. There's what the email looked like. It just put it in the other window. I didn't see it. So that's I can send it to that link. Will do the same thing. So let me look at my notes here to see. So we did all these other things. I will actually, on a similar note, I wanted to show you that. Actually, I can just move this over here. These are my notes for like things I wanted to make sure I talked about. And in the Apple Notes application, I believe I think it started with Big Sur, you can actually lock a note. So I can lock a note and put a password in that note, and that will sync to your phone. So if you wanted to like I have people put passwords in their contacts, like they'll make a card for AT&T and put their password in there, super insecure, but they do that to help them find it. But instead of having scraps, if you're not going to use a password manager or not really keep things organized in Keychain, or if you have other information you want to keep, you can put it into a note and add a password to that. And that will be additional, besides the password to get into your phone or your Mac, you can have an additional password on that note, which is where you can keep all your passwords.
If you're keeping passwords in your contacts or your clients or in notes, you should be using the Mac OS built-in password manager, period.
Yeah, I think this would be more like if you're keeping like other information in there, like the security questions or.
Well, we do have lots of clients that have a running list in their notes or in an Excel spreadsheet, and you're actually making it more work for yourself, although you think it's simpler. You actually have to do more clicks, and you also have to manage that and make sure that it's up to date. Most of the time when you look at people's sheets, you don't know if it's a current one or, they changed it 3 days ago and they totally forgot about it, that they changed it. I always forget that I changed passwords. Not anymore.
Yeah, so I do think some things work better in notes, or at least when I'm doing forensics, I'll put stuff in there. So it's like, it's written down. Sometimes I can't read my own handwriting, so I want to make sure I type it. And so it makes it a little bit easier to figure that stuff out as you're doing the figuring out what people's passwords are and resetting it. Sometimes I don't even know their username. You have to kind of guess that. So that's kind of helpful for that. I did want to also show, I did do some screenshots because I didn't know whether I wanted to share everything. If I go into Keynote, I just did some slides. I wanted to show you this password, or this cartoon, just because I thought it was funny. This is something that Bill Corrali sent to me. So for future security questions, the name of your first pet should include a minimum of 8 uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. So I would always, whenever we got a stray cat, I would always like have funny conversations with Christy about names for the cat. I wanted to show you this for your iPhone, and this is similar to what Scott showed you in Safari. If you go to the settings app on your, this is newer in the newer version of Safari, didn't used to be there. If you go into the settings app and you click passwords, then you can choose, it will show you your passwords here. And if you go to the autofill section, this is where you can choose whether your iPhone uses iCloud, Keychain, or 1Password. So you can have them both checked just like you can on your Mac or PC, or you can have just one of them checked. Now, if I have someone that wants to switch, actually, I don't think it has to be like Mac OS. Like if you have M-Secure or one like some other password manager, you can have them both turned on, and you can log in using like one M-Secure or some other program, and or even the Apple Keychain, and let it teach 1Password what your passwords are. So I may leave both of these checked. Let 1Password learn your passwords, and then when you have them all in there, or most of them in there, and it gets confusing, like that they're both there, I'll come and uncheck the iCloud keychain so it doesn't use that any longer. And I wanted to show you what the dashboard. This is what there is. Actually, you can log into on a website to get into your 1Password dashboard. This is what it looks like. It mimics basically what's on the what's on your iPhone or on your Mac, and you can log on this if you like on somebody else's computer if you remember all the secure stuff to log into it. And then this is like you have all these kinds of other buttons here. Like so, there's the users in my team, and you can. This is where you can have invitations, groups. You can integrate this stuff into Slack, or there's lots of places where you can integrate all this. But there's a lot of there's a dashboard with lots of settings that you can set up in here. So that's all I did for Keynote. So I don't know, I haven't been able to look at the chat, so I don't know if I missed any. I guess I could show you a few more things I have tabbed that I thought was useful. So there's, I showed you the differences, a few things about 1Password here. There's a bunch of useful buttons at the very bottom. This is where you can go right specifically to the features for teams and business, but there's also a, for webinars, there's a username generator and a password generator, kind of what Scott showed you with just searching for Google. There's a ton of training, so if you like this, Take Control ebooks. These are really good. There's a ebook on 1Password. There's a ebook on taking control of your passwords. These are very inexpensive. I can get review copies of these for people who are willing to write articles for the blog. So it's, that's not really, we don't really require in-depth articles for the blog, so it's useful. In fact, I meant to show it. Judith Major read one of these books about taking control of your digital legacy, and there's a blog post on our blog that she did. So I hope she didn't. I hope she got her $15 worth of words there for writing that review.
I put the blog link in the chat, Spike.
Yeah, it's in the, it was in the chat too. I gave that to Henry, I think. They have a bunch of ebooks about security, so you can do that. Screencasts Online, which is an online tutorial site that I pay for. They actually have a free, this says 5 minutes, but it's a free like 40-minute, 50-minute class on 1Password. It's a little bit dated. They came out right when COVID happened and people were doing lots of Zoom, and password became kind of important during that point. So there's some newer versions, newer features that aren't in here, but it's still 1Password 7, which is the current version. So this is useful. There's a ton of password classes and things about security you can do with LinkedIn Learning, free with your library card. This article in there about creating secure passwords is, like not using your pet's names and stuff like that is in the chat. Actually, I think it's the same thing. This one here for Password Pusher. This is what the login looks like if you're logging into your dashboard. That logged me out. So I think that's pretty much all my links. So I'm not sure what else I need to show. We're getting on a little bit longer than I'd like to go. Anybody have? I guess we can do Q. Why don't we do Q&A now?
I had a quick question actually for, well, the other Scott. I was trying to do what you were doing with the Command Escape, how it reads selective text, and I wasn't able to get that to work on the desktop. And I thought,
Try Option Escape. Will that work?
oh, Option
I
Escape.
might have said the wrong one first.
Okay, I might have written down the wrong one. So let's see here. Option Escape.
A leader in the 2000.
Ooh, thank you.
Change that voice and accessibility.
Yeah.
Actually,
Okay.
just
Excellent.
in general, accessibility has been one of those things that I kind of go through every so often. I try them out. I make sure I'm very careful that if I check something, I uncheck it afterwards. Okay. But I will go in there and I often find things in there that are like incredibly, for instance, well, you can't see my screen right now, but I turned on the zoom feature so I could zoom into those little keys. So you could see it more clearly. So there's a lot of features in accessibility. We have a tendency to think that's not for us. Check out what's in there. There's a lot of cool stuff like that.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure.
What questions did Gary ask? Because Henry said to look at Gary's questions. I don't see them. So I guess you want to tell us what your questions are, Gary?
Well, I was at, well, first of all, that one you said about the phone, which has been giving me problems where Safari would overtake 1Password. But you showed me where I could uncheck the keychain part about it. So that was good. My original question was, I'm using 1Password 7, and I think either 8 is out there or the beta is out there. But I don't know what version you were using, but then it seemed to think at the end you were using 7.
Yeah, 7's the only one. I mean, there might be a version 8, but I don't recommend using beta software unless you're.
I know that. I learned my lesson, expensive lesson. I've learned my lesson to wait.
Yeah, yes. If anyone discovers Gary's using beta software, you have my permission to shake him.
I will not use beta software. I've been trying, I'm grateful for Scott. I like what he said about that what Lori brought up about using the voice, because I've found this isn't quite the same, but using Safari voice on my desktop to help me even be sure I've spelled the word properly. But it has been a lifesaver to help me. But I think that was the only question. I was just curious what you were using, Spike. And Scott, I think I've been able to turn off Keychain on my desktop. I mean, because it interfered with the Safari password. It wanted to go over. And it took me for a while.
Yeah. I think of that as a password tug of war, and it's okay when you're teaching one program from the other. But yeah, permanently it's a little distracting, and at best distracting, at usually kind of confusing. And
well, it comes up
and
first.
maybe
you want to go back to using the keychain. It's really kind of what your needs are for sharing.
I know something I forgot. In the system preferences, when you go into passwords and you can see the list of passwords, I don't want to share my screen again, but when you can see the list of passwords, they're going to add a notes field to that. So you'll be able to make secure notes and you'll be able to add information about that account to remind yourself of stuff. So that's kind of a nice way to do it. So I could see myself putting in like my answers to the 3 questions that maybe I set up in that website in the notes part.
Yeah, you can get really tricky with that stuff. Like some places I see recommend like giving fake answers, like, so what's your, if your first grade teacher could be your dog's name or something like that. So it doesn't have to be an accurate answer.
I'll tell you honestly, I just put in the same word for each of the questions, but I make it a different word every time I do it. I don't even care what the questions are. There's no right or wrong answers. It's just whatever you enter.
As long as you have a record and can find it.
Yeah, as long as you can find it. I think that's the one place you can use one word every time.
Yeah, so I guess there was a question about the subscriptions, and it's a one-time cost. It doesn't matter how many devices you use. So you can have 1Password on, I mean, there might be a limit, but I don't know what it is. And I have a lot of devices, between my phones, my different, a bunch of Macs, like
Uh,
PC, whatever, it can be on pretty much anything.
I did have one more. Can you put one, ended up buying a PC, I told you that. But can you put the 1Password from the Mac also on the PC?
Yep, you can. Yep, you
Okay.
can. You just have to log into your account.
You have to
1Password
download the window. You have to download the Windows version, but yes.
Okay, thank
I
you.
guess a few things I can add about 1Password. It's a Canadian company, so they're really nice. That's what their reputation is anyways. They just had a big stock offering, and a lot of like Mac users, well, it started on the Mac. I didn't mention that. So it started on the Mac. So it has like sort of the Mac sort of user experience and design sensibility compared to some of the Windows programs that started there. So that's something that a lot of users like about it. They just had a big stock fundraiser. I think they made like, I don't know, it was like $600 million or $1 billion. It was like some
Wow.
kind of like shocking number that they were able to raise in order to continue developing their software, which I guess means that, passwords and security and privacy is important. There actually is a feature it's kind of designed for dissidents, I think. So if you travel out of the country, you can kind of clamp down on your password so it's harder to get to, that you can get into it, but it's not on, I guess, like if your device gets confiscated by any security people in other countries, they can't get to your stuff. And apparently, even if you're an American citizen, if you leave the country and you're coming back, you don't have the same rights as when you're a citizen in the country. So there's a bunch of sort of features like that are in there too. So it tells you a little bit about 1Password.
Hey, Scott, Brenda wants to know if all the keychain features are available only on OS Monterey, or can they be found on Big Sur as well?
I think you can find stuff on Big Sur. The easiest way to check would just be go into Safari preferences and see if you see passwords.
Yeah, I mean, I think Apple realized they had a bunch of nice features in Keychain, but that they were getting behind. So they moved passwords into your system preferences to make it easier to get to, but you can get to it from Safari preferences. And you also can get to your Keychain actually the old way from some of the older Macs. Even if you go into the applications folder, then utilities folder, there's an application called Keychain Access.
I'm hoping that goes away.
That's kind of confusing.
I bet it
but it's in
does.
there. Yeah, you
I
can.
bet that's on its way out.
Yeah.
That's like the old school. And I think putting it in the preferences is the death knell on that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of passwords in there that are from other places or server passwords. It's really mostly in the system preferences. It's web-based logins or app-based logins, not kind of there's a bunch of passwords you'll never even know about. The other thing that's really interesting, you can't save your iCloud password in there. So that's just something to keep in mind. I actually have my iCloud password somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like I ask people, they don't know their Apple ID password all the time, or they sometimes get Adobe and Apple kind of confused together, which I don't understand because they're like different companies, but they're both in Silicon Valley and start with A. So somehow,
It's good to say that.
I'll tell people tell me what's your Apple ID password, and they'll tell me their Adobe password. I have to kind of make sure.
I will make a play for saying something positive about 1Password is that the way that we use it here is that it's a family subscription and it's worth every penny, because I think, especially when you're either busy, crazy busy, don't have your mind on things as important as passwords, but you use them all the time. The shared thing is incredibly it's a great thing because I don't have to share. I don't have to physically share something with somebody else or a coworker or my wife or whatever. I could just establish it as in the shared vault. And if, when they have access to it, because they're part of the family plan, they could just go there and get it.
I got to tell you though, what drives me nuts is people buy stuff like 1Password or LastPass, and then they never use it because they
Right.
don't learn how it works. It doesn't get done.
Not hard.
And I don't understand the point of that. It's kind of
Yeah.
like on Windows, like the built-in Microsoft antivirus is great. Okay. Good as anything else, quite honestly. Okay. But everyone goes out and buys some super expensive Norton package because they don't know how the basic package works. So just in the future for older people or friends or stuff, like if you show them how they use the passwords that are just built into OS X, it's great to identify that at least they're doing it. And now when they say, gosh, I want to share this with my family, okay, we could go to 1Password. It basically
Yeah,
does the
yeah.
exact same thing. Let's do that. Then you might use it. Okay. I can't tell you how many computers I see with password stuff that never gets used.
Yeah, I agree with that. I see that a lot. So I think you definitely, which is why I put those training videos in the feed there. I do think like Joan for like Blue Star, the Teams version kind of makes sense. Like you kind of need to do something if it's like.
I'm sorry, I have to go pick up my daughter. It was lovely seeing
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank you,
Hey,
Scott.
Scott was right. I was using all that 1Password. I owned it, but I never really knew how to use it.
Thanks, Scott.
I'll see you all
Okay.
later. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, all right, so I guess I want to do like a couple more minutes, we'll wrap up, so like, yes, so I guess I wanted to ask Ron, if Ron's still here, what his opinion is, just since he uses it too, or what, if he had something to add to what Mary said.
No, I agree with what everybody else said. What I really like, the feature that I really like with 1Password is I have it on my iPhone, and I could use the facial recognition to turn it on and fill in the password for me. So
Right.
if I'm on a website on my phone, it's just, a click away from launching it and filling in the password and going on. So I just like that feature.
Yeah, there's one feature I meant to show, it's on my list, but I missed it. There's a feature called Gatekeeper. And that will show you sites where you could maybe turn on two-factor authentication, websites that have been compromised, and websites, passwords that are too simple or repeated. So there's a bunch of features, that was in the password manager for Mac OS. It's sort of basic, so you have a lot more things that can tell you as far as like the passwords you need to change and things like that. So I guess I should say next month will be the Campana Center for Ideation, so stay tuned for that. And if anyone wants to stick around and ask more questions or just socialize, I won't wrap up the meeting yet, but we'll actually end the program. So thank you all for sticking around. I hope that this was a worthwhile program for you.